the greatest joy for a man is to defeat his enemies, to drive them before him, to take from them all they possess, to see those they love in tears, to ride their horses, and to hold their wives and daughters in his arms. In the span of 25 years, Genghis Khan and his Mongol army subjugated more land and more people than the Romans did in 400, building one of the largest land empires in history, second only to the British Empire, who admittedly had more access to continents. The Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific to the Mediterranean, with all this being achieved with a Mongol tribe of only 1 million people and an army of no more than 100,000 warriors. The boy who built this empire grew up in a world of excessive tribal violence, including murder, kidnapping, and constant warfare. It was from these harsh settings in a cold land that he learned the full range of human emotion. But before he became Genghis Khan, the future conqueror was a scared boy named Temujin, who feared dogs and cried easily. To understand how this outcast child rose from poverty to be the Mongols' great Khan, we'll start by looking at Temujin's early childhood and the traumatic events that shaped him and ultimately guided his rise to power. Temujin's story starts in the heart of Mongolia, Kental province, beside the Onan River. Kental, like most of the Mongolian steppes, was a difficult place to survive. The weather was so extreme, it was said you could experience all 4 seasons in a single day. Temujin was born in the spring of 1162, the year of the horse, on an isolated and cold hill overlooking the Onan River. His mother Holin was a young, kidnapped 16-year-old girl of the Hokunid tribe. At the time, bride kidnapping was a common practice among Mongol tribes, and just a year before, Holin had been the wife of another warrior, Chuladu of the Merkid tribe. Soon after her marriage, she was kidnapped by the man destined to be her new husband, Yesugei, Genghis Khan's father. Yesugei was the leader of the small nomadic Borjigin tribe that would later become the Mongols, but was currently subservient to the Takiads. The Borjigin and the Takid clan frequently conflicted with the much larger and powerful neighboring Tartar tribe. Temujin's name actually comes from a Tartar chief slain by his father Yesugei. The name itself means blacksmith, with Temur meaning iron and Jin denoting agency. Upon being kidnapped and joining Yesugei's household, Holin had to now compete with Usegi's first wife, Xochitl, who raised Yesugei's slightly older firstborn son, Bektir. Temujin was Holin's firstborn, along with 3 brothers and a sister to follow. According to an often repeated count in the Mongol secret history, Temujin was born clutching a black blood clot the size of a knucklebone, which some interpreted as an omen for the child to become a great leader. But for the kidnapped Holin, a lonely and young girl, it must have been a strange sign. We know very little about Temujin's early childhood with the Borjigin clan, as our only historical source is an ancient Mongolian text called The Secret History of the Mongols, written in 1228 to 1229 after the death of Genghis Khan. The text's historical value and accuracy is often questioned as it reads more as an epic chronicle or poetry, with no other corroborating external source to verify its description of Cengiz's early life. But it's the best resource historians have, as it's one of the few sources actually written by Mongols during that time period. Returning to Temujin's childhood, the secret history of the Mongols suggests he was not highly valued by his father, who once accidentally left him behind when they moved to another camp. When Temujin was 8 years old, his father took him to find a bride in the southern Ungarit tribe. It's theorized that Yesugei wanted to be rid of him. Perhaps his father anticipated a coming struggle that would erupt between his new son Temujin and Bektir, the slightly older firstborn son, born to him by Xochitl, his first wife. It was with the Ungarit tribe that Temujin met his future wife and partner, Bort. At the age of 9, her father arranged a marriage to the 8-year-old Temujin, but as per Mongol steppe tradition, Temujin was to stay with the Ungarit and work with the tribe for a number of years before claiming his bride. However, his stay with the Ungarit was short-lived due to the death of his father. During Yesugei's travels back home from the Ungarit, he came upon a Tartar camp, the rival tribe of the Borjigin. Despite this rivalry and being completely by himself, Yesugei entered the camp and was granted hospitality. However, some of the Tartars recognized him as the killer of Temujin, Genghis Khan's Tartar namesake, and subsequently poisoned him. Although quite ill from the poison, Yasuge managed to leave the Tartars and return home to his family's camp, whereupon he immediately sent someone to find and bring back Temujin, who had to leave Bort behind in a rush to his father's deathbed. Upon returning home, however, the Borjigin clan wouldn't accept Temujin or his older brother's authority. Without their father Yasuge to help them fight and hunt, the Takyid and Borjigin tribes decided they had little use for the two widows and their 7 young children, as in the harsh environment of the steppes, the clan could not possibly feed 9 extra people. As the Takyid band moved out, deserting Temujin's family, a single old man objected loudly to what they were doing. And in an incident that apparently deeply impacted Temujin, one of the deserting warriors said the old man had no right to criticize them and speared the old man to death. Upon seeing this, Temujin, at this point a boy of no more than 8 years, is said to have dashed up to try and help the dying man, but unable to do anything, he just sobbed in hurt and anger. Despite being deserted and condemned to a near certain death in the harsh Mongolian winter, Holin managed to save her entire family by surviving in the forests that surrounded Mount Urkan Kaldin, where for years the family subsisted on small fruits and plant roots until the boys were old enough to hunt. In the words of the Persian chronicler Jivani, who visited the Mongols 50 years later and wrote one of the first foreign accounts of the life of Temujin, he described the family at this time as wearing clothing of the skin of dogs and mice, and their food was the flesh of those animals and other dead things. It was during these early desperate years that Temujin came into conflict with his older half-brother Bektar. As the eldest, Bektar had the right to command the family at the age of 15, and could also assume leadership by marrying Temujin's mother, a common steppe tradition. To avoid this, Temujin and his younger brother Kasar ambushed their half-brother while hunting, killing him with arrows. The secret history records that Bektar refused to fight his brothers, and only insisted they spare the life of his younger brother, Belgute. Upon returning home, Holin is said to have immediately recognized the fratricide and screamed out, "Destroyer, destroyer! You came from my hot womb, clutching a clot of blood in your hand." With this decisive act, Temujin showed himself determined to lead, not follow, killing whoever blocked his path, even his own family, beginning his journey from Temujin, the scared boy, into Genghis Khan of the Mongols.